just a quick question. You spoke about the Pakistani situation and the India situation. It's not a hot question. Don't worry, just relax. So I know. I think I saw your pictures. You've been in Pakistan and you've been on the forward areas. Close to the Pakistani.
No, I haven't been to the forward areas. I want to go to the forward areas.
Right, but
I asked the foreign minister to get me there.
So, but the present government, the efforts they are doing for the peace between Pakistan and Afghanistan,
yes,
plus the great help they are providing to United States of America to strike a peace deal, and the American forces coming out of it. How do you see that? And just one more thing, that whatever is happening in India, I know you are in a tough situation where you have to please both voters, but the rights in
whenever I have to make a tough decision on balancing all the different concerns, I try to do what's right. I try to do what I think is the right thing to do. I don't. You can never rely on this supporter or that supporter. You can't rely on your family. You can't rely on your brother. You can't rely on this. You got to rely on what you think is the right thing to do.
So that's the second part of my question. Being a leader, political leader from the free world, how do you see when the Muslims of India, their rights are suppressed and there's no communication, there's no freedom? Your take on that?
You talk about in Kashmir?
No. All over the India, sir. NRC and CA, whatever is going on right now in India, all the India is like Kashmir. So being a leader
I don't know that that's accurate 100%. I'll need more information as to what you're saying.
But your remarks on what Pakistani government is doing to help America.
I just had was at the National Prayer Breakfast in Washington D.C. And at the National Prayer Breakfast in Washington D.C., I worked with the Republicans, and I said we have to find something we can agree upon. I said, let's invite people that are being religiously persecuted throughout the world to come to Washington, D.C. And let's stand up, Democrats and Republicans, we can both agree on this, we should be against religious persecution. People should not be persecuted because of their religion. So we invited Uyghur Muslims to come to Washington. We invited Tibetan Buddhists to come. We invited Rohingyas to come. We invited Coptic Christians from Egypt. We invited Ahmadiyya Muslims from Pakistan. We invited Jewish people from the United States, from the Tree of Life Synagogue. We invited Catholics from Erbil. As a people, we have to figure out how can we treat everybody equally so that they have the right to practice their faith as to what they believe in. And so that's not easy thing to do. It's a very hard thing to do. It's really tough to do these things. But it's the right thing to do. And as far as the peace in Afghanistan going forward, and the Taliban and Pakistan's role in that, there's no winning in Afghanistan. There's never going to be like a victory. All of a sudden, you go from one day to the next day. It's like, okay, we got victory here, we win. That's not going to happen. It's going to have to be a political solution, not a military solution. And you can imagine how many feelings of injustices there are going to be. I'm sure right now there's people in Afghanistan that are saying, wait, you're making a deal with the Taliban? How could you possibly do that after what they did? How many women are going to be concerned about the Taliban having power again, or having influence in Afghanistan again, and how they will treat young girls as far as going to school? There's always going to be, think about Nelson Mandela in South Africa, okay? He was in prison for 28 years. And when he got out of prison and became the leader, you know what he said? We need to reconcile. We need to forgive each other and make peace and figure out how to move forward. This is very hard stuff. It's very controversial stuff. But that's the only way the human race has ever moved forward. So you're never going to correct all the injustices with the Taliban and the Afghan. I mean, think about what happened after 9/11. When America went to Musharraf and said, you're either with us or against us. And that meant going against their close friends that they had fought with against the Russians, the Soviets, in Afghanistan. They said, but we're friends with these guys. They've been we worked together to fight the Soviets. You're either with us or against us. And they said you had to abandon your friends. And that was probably, think of how unfair that was. So there are a lot of injustices that happen in a lot of different places over time. We can't keep on holding on to every single slight, as legitimate as they may be. We will never move forward unless we stop holding each other in contempt. We have to start loving people as people, and we have to recognize this is more about our children than about us today. So, you've been very difficult people, I want to tell you.
We love you, Tom.
But these are all very controversial topics. Yeah. But, you know, I'll always try and be as honest as possible to give you what I honestly feel the answer is. And I hope that we can continue to move forward together to try and accomplish our common goals, which is to try and move our families and our friends and our relatives and our fellow human beings forward together so that people can live a better life together. Thank you very much.
Everyone, please just